Get rid of these guys. They have no business coming on our I don't want them on our property. I don't want them at any of our events. Period. None. Zero.
Step into the Fieldhouse, your front row seat to legendary victories and untold stories. Hey, I'm your host, Lance Lunner, breaking down sports from the inside out, along with co-host Jimmy Lackey. It's more than just a game. It's the Fieldhouse Podcast. Hey, welcome into the Fieldhouse Podcast. We're a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. I'm one of the hosts, Lance Lunner. We have another host here, Jimmy Lackey. Jimmy, you know my question of the day. What is the best thing that happened to Jimmy Lackey today?
Ooh. You just asked a loaded question. I didn't even think about you asking me that one today. So here's how my day started. I've told you before I'm famous for falling asleep in my chair at night.
Yeah, for sure.
Woke up about 2. Sit there, thumb through my phone.
That's pretty normal.
Pretty normal. Check a couple messages on the phone.
Is it your pad that's next to you now?
My computer's in my lap all the time.
Okay.
I wake up with a computer in my lap.
It's not the yellow pad, the good old. No. Okay.
I've got a laptop in my lap. I fall asleep in my chair, legs up, laptop in my lap every night. I got a Yorkie on this leg. All right, Oliver.
Yorkie's name?
Well, Oliver.
Oliver.
I said, all right, Oliver, we better go to bed. My phone starts ringing. 10 after 2.
What?
10 after 2. I look down, it says Central Station.
What's that?
Well, we have alarms at all of our buildings, and I'm thinking, did they change the name? So I answer, and I'm groggy, and I could barely hear him. I said, I'm sorry, you're going to have to speak up. He goes, I have a burglar alarm. We've dispatched police to, and I said, tell me the address again. Tells me the address. I'm going, that's my daughter and son-in-law's house. I'm the backup call. I said, okay. I said, I live in Canyon. I'm on my way. I said, I need somebody to call me with an update as soon as possible, but I'm on my way. So I am flying between Canyon and Amarillo. I mean, I'm flying, hoping somebody pulls me over so they'll take me. I get there.
Is that how that works?
I don't know, but I'm thinking I've got a pretty good excuse this time. And so I'm driving down the road.
That one gets me. I never even thought of that one.
And I'm driving. I made it from their house to my house in about 13, 14 minutes.
And normally 20?
Oh, yeah. And so I get there and I look down the alley as I'm going to their street, and there's no lights or nothing in the alley. Pull around the corner, look down the block, and there's nothing. So I pull up in front of the house. Now, mind you, it's spitting rain, kind of mud rain.
Yeah,
I think if you saw.
Rain.
And I just washed. I ran through the car wash last night, so my truck's all spotted.
Oh, God.
And I'm sitting out in front of their house, and I'm scared, Lance, because the lights are out. I call back and get a hold of the 911 folks, and they said, well, police came by, the house was secure, and they left the premises. Okay. The house could be secure, but what happened on the inside? Did the perpetrator lock the door on the way out? Is my family okay inside there? Do we have some ugly situation on our hands that I don't know about?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. So I sit there for 15 minutes in front of the house, and I'm trying all the way from Canyon to Amarillo. I'm trying to call both of them, and they're not answering their phones. And so, I mean, I literally sit there for 15 minutes in front of their house, and I thought, I got to call Kim. So I wake Kim up. I said, sweetie, I'm sorry to bother you because I know I didn't leave the house. You didn't know I left the house. But I said, I'm sitting in front of their house, and she goes, well, don't you think Doc would be barking? I go, yeah, if they didn't do anything to him.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's going through my head.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The worst. And I got 3 grandsons in that house.
Yeah.
And so, you sit there, and I mean, I am praying to God, please let this.
Why didn't you just go knock on the door?
Because I didn't want to get shot.
Oh.
All of their bedrooms are upstairs.
Okay.
So I go in, dog starts barking. I don't know. Are they going to shoot me?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm trusting that this situation's okay. So I go back home. Of course, it takes me 30, 45 minutes to go back to sleep. And
you washed your car on the way.
No, I did not.
Oh.
I did that last night when I got home. Then it got rained on with the mud going to their house.
Okay, I got you.
And so it looks like it now. And so 6 o'clock or so this morning, my phone's ringing, and boy, I said, man, am I glad to hear your voice. And it was Seth calling me to let me know everything. And he goes, I'm so sorry. He said, we didn't even know the police came by. The door from the garage to the house, the wind, it wasn't shut good, and the wind blew it open. And that's what set the alarm off.
Interesting.
Unbeknownst to them, they're upstairs.
Yeah.
And
So
all of this happened unbeknownst to them.
even though the police was there, they didn't check with who.
They didn't ring the doorbell. They didn't do
That's
anything.
weird.
That's the part that concerned me, is that I wish they would have gone a little
However,
further.
did you start a new protocol with them, like answer your phone at 3 a.m?
So then my daughter calls me a little later. She goes, Dad, I'm so sorry. She goes, my sister and I just listened to a podcast last week talking about how you ought to leave your phone somewhere else in the house so it doesn't bother you during the night. She goes, lesson learned.
Hey, no, I mean, that's
So
real.
there you
That
go.
is real.
But yeah, best thing happened to me today. Everybody in my family's okay. But it was a little bit of a
that's
spooky
the most
night.
unique answer I've ever had to that question.
I've had a rough night in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
just worrying.
You don't
I don't getting up, losing sleep. None of that bothers me. But the worry about, do I need to go in that house, and what am I going to find?
You don't look that tired.
And what am I going to find when I go in there? That
You don't
was
look
my
that
concern.
tired.
Nah, I'm fine.
Yeah,
That part I'm fine.
That's interesting. I love that.
So there you go. There's the best part of my day. Everybody's good.
Hey, that's new on the Fieldhouse Podcast. This is, by the way, this
Long
is,
story short.
Yeah. This
long.
is number. Yeah, that was a great story. This is number 42. That shows your love for your family, right there.
Oh, and they're everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's cool.
I'd take a bullet for any of them. So
I don't think
a lot of friends, you and others too.
I don't think a lot of us actually have, fair or not, a legit alarm system. You know what I mean? That's something that lacks probably in Amarillo in general. I mean, there's a lot, don't get me wrong, but that added expense to people who are trying to make it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well, I will tell you, the 911 folks were awesome.
That's cool.
Very attentive. They knew
Yeah.
exactly where I was going, what I was doing, knew what had
How
happened
about a
up to that
backup
point in
call?
time.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
backup, yeah.
I can't thank them enough. So,
Yeah. Hey, this is number 42 of the Fieldhouse Podcast. We have a tradition here. We pick a number 42. Might be an athlete we played with, one of our favorite growing up. It might be a great college player, great professional player, or anything. And today is number 42. And Jimmy, you can lead us off today.
I'm gonna let you, because I think you're the sports writer. I think I ought to give you first bit.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine. Obviously, 42 when Major League Baseball did the appropriate thing, and retired the late great Jackie Robinson's number 42. And if you ever go to a ballpark, you look around, you're going to see 42 somewhere in that stadium, usually in a circle with the 42, usually on a fence or somewhere, kind of where they put the retired numbers. But 42, there's a reason for that. It's retired across all of baseball.
Yep.
And so Jackie Robinson has to be on that list. However, my guy, believe it or not, is now Ronnie Lott.
That's
you know
mine.
what I mean? Yeah. It was between Paul Warfield and Ronnie Lott, because I got to meet Paul Warfield at the Zach Thomas Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Gracious guy. And like a little dude.
Yeah.
A little dude, you know what I mean? So you're like, how did you do that in the NFL like you did? But Ronnie Lott, obviously the famous story where he's got a broken finger or something in it, Jimmy, and they cut it off.
Yep.
Cut off the tip of so he could continue to play. But no, number 42 back there, just making big hits, great plays.
Good commentator when he
great
did some of that.
commentator. Yeah. Just he's kind of a John Wayne type guy.
Yeah. I actually got to meet him. Unfortunate set of circumstances. I met him at John Ayers' funeral.
John Ayers' funeral.
He came in. He came into Canyon for that.
Yeah.
He and Keith Von Horst and 2 or 3 others.
Joe Montana
and his wife Jennifer came.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all came for that, and that was a big deal during that time because John was only 42.
Yeah.
Ironically speaking.
Wow, is that how young he was?
Yeah, and so.
Wow.
But yeah, for those guys to come to Canyon, Texas, and then I loved watching him play. He wasn't dirty.
No.
But he was going to light you up.
Yeah, he couldn't play today the way he played, unfortunately, because they would call him. By the way, we have to mention another number 42, and it's Mariano Rivera. Rivera obviously was the great reliever for the Yankees. Enter the Sandman, one of the great entrances in all of Major League history. But he is the only unanimous Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the only one who unanimously voted.
Wow.
For so long, the MLB writers were such stick in the muds, whatever you want to call them, but they bordered on ridiculous, because about 3 or 4 of them would not vote no matter what. You knew, like a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer, they were going to make sure it wasn't unanimous on purpose. And I never have understood that. That's hate.
Yeah.
That's just being hateful.
I agree.
But Mariano Rivera is the only one. I had a question for you, though, going over these today, if you don't mind. Should all of sports, the big ones, the NBA, soccer, NFL, should they have a universal number retired to honor their sport?
That's a great question. In certain circles, those rivals probably think not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Like a Redskins Cowboys kind of thing, or Celtics Lakers, old time Celtics Lakers rivalries. Probably don't want Larry Bird's up in, the LA Coliseum or wherever it is they want to play from that perspective. But if you really want to honor the sport,
yeah, I like the idea actually.
That part of it, I'm a little intrigued and kind of like, that's a pretty cool idea.
I think it'd be great.
I think the fedora ought to be in all NFL stadiums. I think Tom Landry's fedora ought to be everywhere, but that's just me talking.
Yeah, I don't think Philly would like that.
No, not at
think,
all.
Yeah, no.
That's a great question.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I will say this: I think you honor your sport, like you just said. I like that, and obviously. Jackie Robinson breaking the
color barrier.
The color barrier
100%, absolutely
was ideal for this. But no, I think all sports should look at it, and it would be tough to find somebody because you're right. There are such personal rivalries.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to do with a historical situation like Jackie Robinson's than it is just some great player.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's a little bit subjective.
Yeah.
I mean. Was Tom Brady the best quarterback ever? Was Joe Montana the best quarterback ever? Some people's minds, yes. Other people's, no. The deal with Jackie Robinson was huge in the scheme of life.
Yeah,
and I think it permeated beyond baseball, but it came back to baseball as some way for them to honor that. I think in that respect, that's much to be spoken for, but it would be tough with other.
Yeah, it would be tough
with an individual.
I think
player
it's an idea to be had. Maybe.
Yep.
I don't know how they would do that. So, man, you have had a crazy last 10 days, to say the least. There was an incident here with involving during or after. Actually, let's get it correct, Lance. Following a Kids Inc. basketball game.
Yep.
It's been in the news. You've addressed it. Appropriately, sum it up for us. Let our listeners in today know kind of your version of it. Your
typically,
version of it.
We come in here and it's just Jimmy and Lance sitting here chatting it up, and there's no script, there's no nothing. I don't have a script about any of this, but I don't mind talking about it because we've nailed it head on. But I'm going to put my president and CEO hat on for a minute, and I'm going to have you put your board member hat on here because. Fortunately, the timing couldn't have been better in this respect. We had an incident at Austin Middle School on the 22nd of March, and I'm going to call it like I see it and just tell you how I feel about it. But a bunch of unruly parents and bystanders between ball games decided that it was best that they get into a big physical tussle. And when I say tussle, it was an all-out brawl. And it's inside of an Emerald ISD gym. They have fantastic cameras in those facilities. And so Monday morning, our staff is in their office reviewing tape, and between the school district personnel and our personnel are able to identify 7 individuals who are directly involved in the physical aspect of this melee and point them out. And so now we're talking back and forth, what do we do? And, of course, immediately, from my standpoint, I'm visiting with our attorney, who's also a member of our board of directors. We've got to get rid of these guys. They have no business coming on our I don't want them on our property. I don't want them at any of our events, period, none, zero. School district wants the same thing, but it's a little bit difficult when you've got a parent who has other kids in the system, and so they've got to think this through. But we all agreed this is the way they're going to do it. And so ASD has to handle it their way. We handled it ours, but trespass warrants were issued to those 7 from both Amarillo ISD and from Kids Incorporated, barring them from any of our events or properties. The school district
Forever.
Permanently. Done, 0, none. And so if that doesn't set the tone as to where we're going from this point forward, try it.
Now explain what the trespassing entails.
Yeah. So what that means is if they are anywhere on one of our properties or they are at any one of our events, authorities will arrest them. They'll be arrested. And
is that AISD events as well?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much
think
so.
about that. These are 6th graders mainly, or parents of.
Well, this was a 3rd grade. This was at a gym where 3rd graders were playing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was between. This was between games. This wasn't even between opposing.
Right.
Between opposing teams.
So those parents who are involved in this can no longer watch any of their events at AISD. Think about that.
Yeah, well, they have to, and I don't want to speak for the school district by any means, and I want to thank the school district for working directly with us on that because, and I won't even mention which administrator because it's irrelevant, but the administrator put in charge of that I worked with directly, we probably talked 3 to 4 times a day, back and forth, working with superintendent, working with other personnel. Amarillo ISD has their own police force, so they were involved, and then we're working with APD as well on the matter. And so everybody involved was extremely easy to work with. But think about it. You got parents that have kids on their school camp. They go to school, and so they have to work with them to get those kids to school. And so they have to find out what those new lines in the sand look like for them. You can get them to school, get them here. And, again, that's a district issue they have to deal with on their end. But ours is very cut and dried. You better not be on our property, and you better not be at any of our games because you will be arrested. End of story. I have even gone as far, and I don't mind saying it, Lance, because I want the public to know everything here. You know me, I'm an open book.
Very much so.
But I have gone as far as to talk to one of the city prosecutors who is involved, could be involved if the police present the case to them. I'm pushing for the misdemeanor portion of it simply because then they have to go in front of a judge. Judge reiterates what I've just told you. If you're caught at one of our events or on our property, you will be arrested and you will be thrown in jail. That's the big part A of the discussion. Here's the sad part and the byproduct end of it, and this is where we had a long discussion in our board meeting.
Sure did.
About this the other day, because the last thing that we ever want to do, it's been 6 years since we've raised program fees. And typically the only time we want to raise program fees is when inflation catches up with us and equipment costs go up, staffing costs, we got to pay people more, commercial insurance goes up, all the things that it takes to run a business go up. But we try to spread that out as far as we can anytime we do a program fee increase so that it lasts, hopefully 3 to 5 years or so. But it's been 6 years since we've raised fees. Think about that. We survived COVID during that too.
Yeah.
And so now Amarillo ISD is going to require that we have law enforcement security on site anytime we use one of their facilities. Well, that's gyms. We use those middle school football fields. And so as a board, my recommendation to our board was, well, if we're going to do it at these events, we have to do it at others because it's not right for a parent that has a basketball kid to go out to a tackle football game and not have that same security.
Yeah.
And so in just this day and time where we are, and you can refer to it however you want to. I'm going to tell you how we refer to it, or at least I do. I call it DWI, dealing with ignorance. And sometimes ignorance can be replaced with idiots. That's how I feel about it, Lance.
Yeah.
They're interchangeable.
Yeah.
But stupidity involved here now forces us to raise our fees so that we can add security at every single event that we have. Now, you think about this. This isn't like me and you having a friend that's going to put on a wedding and we're helping plan the wedding and we got to get security for 4 or 5 hours at a wedding event. We have 6,600 games last year that we're going to have to budget $70 per game to pay that officer, or per hour.
Yeah, per hour.
And so we have taken all of our games, all the combined locations where maybe we're at one gym, we're at an Austin middle school where there's 2 gyms side by side and the officer could just walk back and forth and we could just use one instead of 2. If we're in our indoor soccer arena and we're playing rec indoor soccer and we've got 4 games going on at one time, we can have one officer for 4 games. So we've pared that down from all the games that we play to the number of venues that we're going to need. And that cut out about 2,000 hours when we did that. But it's adding, as you well know as a member of the board, we're adding about $350,000 to our expense budget. And now we're trying to work with, I have visited with Brian Thomas, Potter County Sheriff. Jared Wirt from Randall County came over to meet with us yesterday. Obviously, we're working with Amarillo ISD's police force because they will handle things on their campuses. And we're just trying to make sure that logistically speaking, there are enough off-duty officers to take these jobs outside, above, and beyond the things that they do. Think about this. During Tri-State Fair, Potter County Sheriffs, I'm sure most of Brian's folks are, they're doing their thing. They're doing their thing out at the fairgrounds. And so, we've got to, and in the middle of that is our fall sports. So that's tackle football, flag football, soccer, volleyball going on during that time frame. Are there enough off-duty officers to cover all these places? But I don't have a choice right now, at least as long as this is on my watch. This is how I feel about it. And I don't like to use me or I very often, but this is where I'm coming from, and I explain this to our board. Everybody says it was always not a matter of if, but when. And we've had tussles at games before. I'm not going to sit here and say we haven't. But they never got to the point that this one did, or certainly not caught on camera that was spread out all over the news to the extent in an enclosed environment like a gymnasium provided. But now it's happened. It's out there. And if we don't do something about it now and it happens again, then that's on us.
Right.
And so that's not going to happen again. So our plan is with these spring sports to have secure once they start in May.
Spring, right?
When our spring sports start in May, our plan right now, God willing, we can get them all lined up, is we will have security officers from either, and I'm just going to name them. If I'm wrong, but it'll either be Amarillo ISD Police Force, Potter County Sheriffs, Randall County Sheriffs, and hopefully some Amarillo Police Department. Here's the difference. The other 3, so the way you have to do this is you have to work with a centralized clearinghouse system that those groups subscribe to. So there's a platform out there that AISD, police, Randall County Sheriffs, and Potter County Sheriffs all subscribe to. And so all the officers have an app on their phone. So when we send over our schedule of games, their app dings. They can sign up from the app for things that they want to do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Brian Thomas was telling me, it's kind of funny. He said, I've got one officer whose wife doesn't work, and so she sits there with the phone, and every time that app dings, she's putting her husband to work. He's got to work all these extra hours.
Yeah.
But that's how it works. So they can immediately sign up for hours around town that people are subscribing to, needing officer security for. And so our Amarillo Police Department uses a different platform. And so I've got to figure out, are they going to be able to be a part of this? I think they can.
Yeah.
But I have not visited with the chief yet to find out if that's accurate or not. So don't hold me to that. But those are the primary, and DPS can be involved in this too. So, people have asked me, well, what about your Allstate Securities and your other security companies that do that kind of stuff? And they probably do great work, but I've got to make sure that anybody we use has arrest authority immediately on the spot. The liability part of it involved these clearinghouses that they do carries insurance on the officer. They carry insurance for us.
Yeah.
And so those are the things behind the scenes that we have to think about too on the liability side. It's a mess.
Yeah.
And most importantly, it's expensive. So there's one price that we used in the budget for all outdoor sports. And then the other one that we have to use that's a little bit higher on the indoor side is not only when we use an Amarillo ISD gym do we have to pay an officer, but we have been paying an extra stipend to an individual that has to monitor the doors, because by AISD policy, and I suspect most school district policies, all doors have to remain locked when children are inside.
Yeah.
And so we have to have a door monitor at every gym that makes sure that every door is locked at all times. So when you and I go to the ball game, they let us in, they shut the door behind us.
Right.
And so that's an added expense on the indoor side. So those indoor costs are a little higher than the outdoor costs. I've crunched numbers till I'm blue in the face with it, but it is what it is. And here's the sad part about it. This speaks to how affordable our fees have been to this point. Across the board, if you want to just put an average out there, we had to raise our fees about 24%. That's sad, Lance.
Yeah.
That's sad.
That's yeah.
And all because of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
For no reason. For what? For what?
Yeah.
For nothing.
Nothing at all.
Egos, attitudes, not ever being held accountable. I can get into the whole deal, and I probably just better stop there. But there is no excuse in my book for that to ever happen in front of children, period. And unfortunately, I know it does elsewhere too, but this time it's in ours. And we got the black eye out of the deal, and I'm trying to dig our way out of it. My dad always told me, Jimmy, if you dig a hole, you ought to know your way out. Well, I didn't dig this hole, but we're figuring our way out of this one, and the people aren't going to like the way we fix it.
Yeah, very well said.
Sucks.
And I just want to say, you can see Jimmy's passion for the safety of this program at Kids Inc. This is the safety for young kids.
It's for our officials, for parents,
everybody.
For the kids, for everybody.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, at an event here at Kids Inc. So I'm very proud to be a part of that. And I will say that he never runs from a difficult situation. And that happened. This is a very difficult situation. But you see the commitment to solving the issue, or really an issue just thrown on them, but on Kids Inc. But well done. Well,
I'm going to take a step farther and say, and you know this, thank you, Matt Sherwood. Matt's our attorney. Matt serves on our board and has for many, many years. But he stepped right up and helped us on this deal. And, you know, there's times that you have to have.
Well, a lot of let's get real. A lot of companies would run from a $350,000 expense.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They would figure a way to get around it and do something different. You're meeting it head on. And like I said, in this world, we all want to feel safe.
Yep.
It's in our house, wherever. You were just talking about that. That's why you're driving in the middle of the night to see if your family's okay. We just want to feel safe. And with these actions, we have a safe factor for our Kids Inc. Events, for those going in, for those participating, for those officials, for everybody.
I was explaining it to one of our staff members yesterday and talking to somebody else about it too. This is what I wholeheartedly believe. You pick a business out there, us, anybody else in business. 90%, I truly believe this in my heart of hearts, 90% of the people involved are good people.
Yeah.
If not more.
Yeah.
It's that very small percentage that, don't think they're accountable to anybody. And I'm going to give you one example, one concrete example. And I doubt that he'll ever hear this podcast, but I hope he does. We had our grand opening in Hereford this past weekend at our new ballpark. We had over 1,000 people there. It was great. The mayor got to run the show, and she did just such a great job. But one of the rules in the new complex, because we have all these nice turf fields, is there are no shelled seeds allowed in the complex, period.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty common.
Period. So there's a guy standing over against the wall spitting sunflower seeds on the ground. Craig goes over and says, "Sir, new rules, new complex, we can't have seeds." And he just stares at Craig. So Craig goes and gets a broom and a dustpan. And he comes back over and starts sweeping. He said, "Sir, could I get you to step aside so I can get these cleaned up?" And the guy wouldn't move.
Wow.
So Craig just swept him off his shoes while he stood there and got him out of the way. That's that small percentage of people out there that don't think they're accountable to anybody.
Yeah.
And I have no use for folks like that.
Yeah.
And I'll just say it, and I don't mind saying it. There is no place in youth sports for folks like that.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a place for folks like that.
Well, that's good
anywhere.
to know that it was a great opening.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
All of our teams got to play a game. We had a Boots and Badges game that night. Tom Simons came out and called the game.
Wow.
It was phenomenal. Yeah, we had a great day.
Yeah, that's
it was a great day.
Let's stick with Kids Inc. news. Big announcement on Rock Rose. You know, a great opportunity to continue putting the final touches on this project.
Yeah. So tomorrow, as today is, and by the time this airs next Tuesday, will be this past Thursday, we will have announced another $1 million gift from Sherry Morrison. So grateful to Sherry and her family to step up and move the needle up to where we need it to be. And so we're going to have a press conference to announce that tomorrow.
Explain the background of though, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and so Sherry's husband, Dean, is from Borger, Texas. He was actually the valedictorian of the high school class of '72 in Borger. Went to college, came back and worked with his dad. His dad had a beer distributorship in Borger. They had one truck.
Wow.
And Dean grew that business into the Budweiser distributorship and moved it to Amarillo. And, of course, everybody knows what Budweiser's distributorship is. Good, bad, or indifferent as far as the alcohol side of things. I'm not going to get into that part of the discussion. Dean worked his tail off all his life. Everything they had was man-made, and, they're sharing that wealth.
Well, he supported with so many charities.
He was the loaned executive chairman, co-chair for United Way for so many years. That's when I met Dean. I was a loaned exec from the university when I worked at WT for 6 years, and I met Dean way back then. That's been close to 40 years ago.
Took over the sponsorship for the Bud Partnership
for the golf tournament,
which is any amateur golfer. I don't care if you're a 20 handicapper or a 2. It's just a treat to play in that. It's a badge of honor to win that event.
Yeah.
It's match play. Just so you know, real quick, Jimmy, other cities our size have tried to duplicate this event, and they can't get it done.
Yeah.
That's because it's so well run, and Dean did a great job of keeping that alive.
Well,
as well as Sean has now.
Yeah, and Sean, this was Sean's idea. Sean's the one that encouraged his mom to look into this deal, and so I want to give credit where credit's due. But I'll even go as far as to say this, in a community our size, to have a Dean Morrison and a Vance Reed over at Coors like we have, doing all the charitable things that they do in this community, you and I don't have enough fingers and toes to count all of it. And so we're very fortunate to have folks like that, just like all the other donors that have pitched into this deal, that see the vision, that want to see opportunities for kiddos. And so we're so grateful for people like that to step up and do what they do for us. And
where does that put you with this million?
So we're just this tiny bit short of our $24 million target. And I keep saying this, I sound like a broken record all the time, but the $24 million is key, because the day we hit it, there's $1.5 million waiting in a challenge grant from High Plains Christian Ministries. So the day we hit that 24, which we're just right on the cusp of, we instantly go to 25.5.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't mind saying I have another larger than this one request out that I'll find out about here in about, what is today? Today's the second, third. At the end of the month, I'll find out about it at the end of the month. That could just really put us in a position where we're sitting in the catbird seat. And so things are going right where we need to. In addition to the press conference tomorrow, which, like I said, by the time this airs will have been this past Thursday, members of our construction team are going to give a little bit of an update on kind of where things are, maybe what some timelines look like.
Are you going to be out there one day with the hat,
Somebody's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be me.
The gold.
Probably all you board members and some of y'all doing that, and all of our our donors. That's who needs to be involved. Everybody that's giving this thing, I don't care if it's 1,000 people. They need to have a shovel in their hand and have drones flying everywhere to get everybody's deal doing it. But it needs to be a big deal because, Lance, let's just be real. This is going to pass me. I'm 63 years old. This complex is going to pass both of us.
Oh, yeah, totally.
For us to be able to put something in place for these kids to have, and again, I go back to think about single parents and grandparents that are raising kiddos on fixed incomes, to be able to go to a centralized facility and not have to chase them all over town, 2 or 3 different places because they're at different age groups, different fields.
I know, yeah. It's going to be so great for the kids.
It is going to be really, really, really nice. And let's go to the security side. An enclosed environment for security reasons, to be able to monitor those things even that much better. It's just a win-win for everybody. And
I know everybody wants to have it done yesterday, but including Jimmy. But
we're going to carry it on Facebook Live, so you by this point in time would be able to go back to our Facebook page and watch the press conference on our Facebook page. I think the key parts is to see us celebrating the Morrison's gift and the opportunity for them. Sherry wasn't big on having a press conference, and we asked her if we could. Honestly, we sent out a press release last week about all this, and it got lost in the mud on the other deal. And so we asked if we could have a press conference so we could celebrate this gift because it deserves that. And she agreed. I don't think she wants to speak or anything like that, but we just want to be able to honor their family for making a gift of this size.
I think it's very classy.
And so we'll do that. And then on top of that, I ask our construction folks, and I think it'll be good for people to hear, other than from me, that this really has legs. There really is a timeline. There really is a process in place, and it's going to happen. And let them kind of tell the stages.
Push this baby across the goal line,
Yeah,
as they
so
say. Yeah, no,
our general contractor is going to be there. Our engineer is going to be there. Sheila and Richard, our architects, their daughter is getting her ring at A&M tomorrow, so they're not going to be able to be there. They're going down while she gets her ring at the ring ceremony, and rightfully so. That's where you need to be. But Sheila's given some points to Wes to make sure they cover from the architect side. So
yeah, no, that's
we have our
cool.
general contractor and engineers there, and comments from the architects as well.
Yeah, that A&M ring thing that's
a big deal.
It is a very big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah,
it
that's
is
a big
very
deal.
big deal. So, especially if did you see where Buzz left though?
Yeah.
The basketball coach down there, who was married to a Randall High grad, and wow, why would you leave A&M for Maryland? Here's why. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, A&M is a football school. It's not a basketball school.
Yeah, very much.
Maryland is a basketball school.
Very much so.
Now, would I rather live? Do I want to live on the East Coast? Heck no, not even close.
Yeah.
But anybody shaking their head at that, that's why. I mean, they support the basketball program. Don't get me wrong, but it's a football school, and so that's the reason there. Hey, just a couple of things before we get out of here. Great stuff today. Thank you so much.
Well, I hate that that's what we have to spend our time on, but
it's life though. We need podcasts like this on.
We're going to always hit things head on around here.
Yeah, no. I love your honesty. Always have. That's why I like you so much. You just tell it like it is. Hey, the Final Four this week. Jimmy, do you like? Okay, in 1996, it was played in the Meadowlands area in a 20,000 seat arena, probably torn down by now. But anyway, since that time, and they had a few in there. You know, the Alamo Dome. I mean the Astrodome, places like this. They've had a few Final Fours before there, but since 1996, they've gone to the massive arenas. And this year it is in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio on the Riverwalk. Great place to not to watch a basketball game, but because you're so far back from it. But do you like that the Final Fours are in these massive, where you can sell 45,000 seats, and even if you want to be in the nosebleed, you can get that ticket for a reasonable price?
Yeah. Well, you know where I sit at a basketball game, so
yeah.
The answer to your question is I don't think I would pay to sit up in I've been in the Alamo Dome when my daughter played volleyball. They had about 30 volleyball courts across the floor, and I'd go sit up at the top because I just don't like to be around crowds. And you know, you can see them.
Yeah,
but
you need binoculars.
TV, the view from the TV is a whole lot better. You go to
They
Jerry,
have the big screens around.
You go to Jerry World. What do you end up watching most of the time?
Well, if you're above the second
you
row,
watch the big screen, and you know. But here's the deal. I mean, that's all TV marketing and everything.
Yeah.
And people pay them and they sell out.
Right,
and so
there's a market.
It's all a market deal.
Yeah.
And you know, the experience, whether it's a family getting to take their kids to go to the Final Four, or a dad and a son, or a mom and a daughter on the women's side, on whatever you want to do. Those are opportunities and memories for people, and I would love to go to one just to say I've been to one, but those big venues wouldn't be my first choice.
No, I think I like your thought. I like your thought where a family could go. Totally against it though. Basketball was not meant to be played in an arena like that.
I agree.
You could do it in the American Airlines, whatever, more of an NBA style. Even an NBA game you go to, there are a lot of bad seats.
Yep.
You can't see anything.
Well, and let me stop you right there. Look at me. And here's kudos to WT. When they built the event center, and this is the difference. You go to most of those arenas, and I can tell you, those seats are 18 inches wide.
Yeah.
WT made theirs 20. There is a difference. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get fewer seats and fewer ticket sales in that deal. But if you're going to make it worth somebody's while to go, we literally went to a Mavs game one time. This is when Mo Cheeks was still coaching at the Sixers. Betty, Celeste, and Johnny were sitting down about the deal, and we had seats right behind them. But there was 8 of us, and we only had 4 seats behind the bench of the Sixers. So 4 of us sat up in the top up here for the first half, and 4 went down, and then we switched at halftime. But I'm not lying, and I'm going to have to get away from my mic. So Lance Maddox, me, Denny Lacey, and Gary Ralphs are sitting up there. So Lance would lean forward and Denny would lean forward, and Gary and I would sit back. And every time somebody made a 3, we switched so you could sit up. But that's how we had to do it, sitting up in those tight seats. I mean, look at us.
Yeah.
Those little tiny seats, they need to build them a little bigger.
Well, no, I agree. I mean, I
but
do
they want
agree
to
with
pack as
that.
many people in there as they can.
Yeah, but I think you need a small arena. I think it helps the
I agree.
atmosphere and everything. But I do get it. So I have been to one Final Four. This is aging me. 1986, the Reunion Arena, and in Dallas. It was Mike Krzyzewski coaching Duke, and think of '86. He's a young Mike Krzyzewski. You had Denny Crum coaching Louisville with Never Nervous Purvis Ellison, who was the MVP, and they won it. You had Larry Brown coaching Kansas, and then you had crazy Dale Brown coaching LSU.
Yeah.
So I got to sit in all those press conferences, talk to Johnny Dawkins. I'll never forget that. Things like that. It's a big thrill, though.
Well, think about it, between the men's and women's this year, all number 1s except one in the women's, number 2 UConn.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
And UConn's a 1 in anybody's book.
A lot of talk on this is going to be the way it is now with the NIL and the portal. You have an Indiana University, Jimmy, Hoosiers, basketball mecca of the world, maybe even the state of Indiana, and they have no basketball players on their roster as of this second.
Wow.
Because of the portal, because of people leaving.
Yeah.
They had graduates on the team as well, but zero, and a new coach.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. The world's changing. So, hey, we both love the Masters, so next week we'll talk about that. We may try to get a guest in as well, but are you an opening day baseball guy? Is that a big...
No, not really. I got friends that are. I got some friends that they go every year, Rangers' first home game, and I love to watch it. Just to see the fanfare of it.
Yeah,
if I can catch it, but it's not on my radar screen by any means.
Yeah.
I'm a playoff baseball guy. You get me to the playoffs.
Kind of like NHL, hockey, the whole thing. Yeah,
very much so.
I've only been to a couple, One was at Coors Field, and a guy named a kid. He was a kid at that time at the Globe News, and now he's the high school sports editor in Dallas, the Dallas Morning News. Greg is his name. We took him. We my family lives there, so. It's a 6.5 hour drive. You're young. Just go up, drive back, spend the night in Colorado Springs and get back. But I took him there, and then, Jimmy, I said, hey, in Colorado, they have things called Rocky Mountain oysters, and they have these lakes in the mountains.
Yep.
And they dive in and get these oysters. They're really, really wonderful. And they happen to be selling them at Coors Field. So and then I was going to tell him what he was really eating. We get in the line. It's like an inning and a half. We're not about to miss an inning and a half. So I had to tell them, hey, that's what they really were. But anyway, But Terry Moore, the late, great Terry Moore, who passed away, he was a sports writer at the Globe News. He was with us. I'll never forget that. He was a big Rockies fan. And the atmosphere is legit on opening day. I love the vibe, okay? But you get that from the television as well. Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I'm going to say to all my tech friends, you have one great basketball coach on your men. The women's coach, obviously, Krista's a dear friend of mine. But have had the opportunity to meet Grant McCaslin years ago when I was working at WT, and he was the coach at Midwestern before he went to Baylor. He is a class act.
Yeah.
He is a coach. To the bone, and you guys are really, really lucky to have him.
And you ruined my bracket, Tech.
Yeah, and
I had Tech in the final. They win, I'm winning there 240 of us put in $10 each. I know $2,400 is not a lot to a lot of you out there.
Yeah.
I wanted that bad. Tech.
No joke.
Hey, here's the thing. Even Grant will tell you this. 10 minutes left. 3:59 left, and I'm up 10 points. A coach worth his salt wins that game.
Yeah.
Okay? Tech choked. at that point. To get to that point,
missed a lot of shots.
they played God.
Yeah.
They played great. You know what I mean? But yeah, you got to hit free throws.
But you got a guy.
No, I agree.
You know that.
Agree 100%, Jimmy.
I mean, my gosh.
Yeah. Something to build on.
Game before they're
we
down.
We also love Mark Adams.
Yeah.
But Mark left that place in a disastrous mess. And what Grant McCaslin has done is flat out phenomenal to bring respect to the program, to the players, back and make it as far as he did. And, you know, before the season we said, hey, you're going to make it that far, I'll sign up for it. But no, when you're up 10 with 4 to play, you have to figure out a way to win. So the bottom line is this, Jimmy, here's what we learned. No matter how great a coach you are, no matter how great a strategy, no matter how great a game plan, if you don't make shots, you don't win in basketball. Bottom line. Bottom line.
How great a call was that of Kelvin Sampson, that inbounds play?
Great call.
Unbelievable.
Great call.
And why you didn't guard him, that person I'll never know.
Yeah, no, great call.
But what a great call.
But go for it. You know what I mean? Yeah, if it's there, go for
Great
it. So,
call.
yeah. Hey, thanks a lot for everything today.
Yep.
I love the insights.
Yep.
We appreciate your honesty always, Jimmy, and appreciate what you do. You don't run from the tougher situations, and you really don't take credit when things are going smooth and all the praise coming your way. You're just a level-headed leader of Kids Inc., and they're lucky to have you right now. So
that level-headed might be on the surface. I got some staff members probably tell you a little different on the backside on days like last week.
That's okay. That's okay. You got a challenge. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, I love that.
I'm not at my best when I'm frustrated. I'll be honest with you. I'm not at my best when I'm
frustrated. I'm the worst at that. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish I could have been this. What I know now, I wish I could have tried to lead the sports department as we were losing people a little differently. I would do it. I would do it much different looking back. Yeah. So, hey, that's the Fieldhouse Podcast. We can't thank you enough for joining us. And remember, it's a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. And we'll see you when we see you.